Let's start with a simple question. When was the last time you really thought about your prostate? For most men, especially after 60, it's one of those topics we tend to sweep under the rug, only worrying when discomfort or doctor visits become frequent. But what if I told you that there are common, everyday habits, things you probably do without a second thought, that could be quietly damaging your prostate, making life in your golden years more complicated than it needs to be? Today, we're diving into a topic that touches millions, but is rarely talked about openly: the hidden dangers of 4 everyday habits that can harm your prostate health after 60. Now, to bring this home, let me tell you about George. George is 67, a retired electrician with a zest for gardening and a habit of starting his morning with the newspaper and a large mug of coffee. When he came to see me, his main complaint wasn't what you'd expect: no sharp pain, no dramatic symptoms. He simply noticed he was getting up more at night, sometimes feeling a pressure he couldn't quite describe. The changes were subtle, but they were slowly stealing his comfort and peace of mind. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Dr. Robert Jansen. I've spent over 30 years helping men reclaim control over their health, particularly when it comes to those silent, stubborn issues that so often creep up as we age. You see, my goal isn't just to share information, it's to give you the tools to truly enjoy your retirement years. I want you to get back to what you love, whether that's fishing, playing with the grandkids, or just sleeping soundly through the night. Why does this matter? Because your prostate plays a bigger role in your quality of life than most people realize. It's about more than just avoiding the doctor's office. It's about comfort, dignity, and keeping your days free from worry. Many men, like George, are shocked to learn that little habits, simple daily choices, are quietly working against them. The good news is, by shining a light on these habits, you have the power to protect yourself, feel better, and maybe even turn back the clock on some nagging symptoms. Before we go any further, I want to invite you to be part of this conversation. If you're finding this topic helpful, or if you've ever wondered about your own prostate health, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap that bell icon so you never miss another tip. And let me know in the comments, does what I'm sharing ring true for you? Just type yes if you've experienced any prostate issues, or no if you haven't. I read every single comment, and your feedback helps me shape these videos so they fit your needs. Now, back to George. Like many men his age, he'd always assumed that frequent bathroom trips and interrupted sleep were just part of getting older. But as we started talking, it became clear that some of his daily routines might be adding fuel to the fire. It wasn't anything dramatic: no smoking, no heavy drinking, nothing obviously bad. Just little things, here and there, adding up over time. The first everyday habit we looked at was his diet. George loved his salty snacks, processed meats, and, of course, that daily mug of strong coffee. These foods and drinks can quietly irritate the bladder and prostate, especially as we age and our bodies become more sensitive. It's easy to underestimate the impact that salt, caffeine, and preservatives have on our system. When you're 30 or 40, your body bounces back quickly. But after 60, every little irritant matters. But it wasn't just what George was eating or drinking, it was also what he wasn't. Many men overlook hydration, thinking, if I drink less, I'll go to the bathroom less. It's a logical idea, but unfortunately, the opposite is often true. Not drinking enough water leads to concentrated urine, which can irritate the bladder and make prostate symptoms worse. I see this mistake over and over. Men unintentionally making things harder for themselves, all because they want to avoid those extra bathroom trips. As our conversation continued, George mentioned another part of his routine: sitting for long periods. He spent hours reading, watching television, or tending to his plants, often without getting up to stretch or move. Prolonged sitting is something most of us don't think twice about, especially in retirement, but it can reduce blood flow to the pelvic area and increase pressure on the prostate. Over time, this adds up, especially if you already have a history of prostate issues or an enlarged prostate. There was one more thing, too: stress. George always prided himself on being the rock for his family, never letting emotions get the better of him. But beneath the surface, stress was quietly chipping away at his health. It's a truth not many talk about: chronic stress triggers inflammation in the body, and the prostate is no exception. When you're stressed, your body holds on to tension, sometimes in the lower abdomen and pelvis, which can make symptoms feel worse. As I talked with George, I could see the recognition in his eyes, the aha moment when everything clicked. These weren't massive lifestyle changes, just simple, everyday habits that were slowly building up and working against him. The important thing to remember is that it's never too late to make a change. Just as these habits developed over time, healthier routines can take their place and start making a difference, often faster than you'd expect. You might be wondering, is it really that simple? Can small adjustments to what I eat, how I move, and how I manage stress actually help my prostate? The answer, based on decades of experience, is a resounding yes. When I guide men through even modest changes, I see improvements not just in symptoms, but in energy, sleep, and overall confidence. It's not about perfection, but about progress, taking small, consistent steps to protect your health. And you're not alone in this. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of the curve, taking charge, asking questions, and looking for real answers. That's half the battle. So, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your yes or no in the comments if this message resonates with you. Every bit of engagement helps me reach more men just like you, and together, we can make these years truly golden. As George started to make changes, something remarkable happened. He began sleeping through the night more often, his energy improved, and he felt more optimistic about the future. That's what I want for you, to feel in control, comfortable, and ready to enjoy life to the fullest, free from unnecessary worry about your health. Now, let's take a deeper look at how these everyday habits really affect the prostate, and more importantly, what small changes can mean for your well-being after 60. As George and I worked together, I began to see the old spark returning to his eyes, that little glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, he could feel like himself again. And it all started with understanding how simple, daily routines can shape our bodies in powerful ways. One of the first things we tackled was George's approach to food and drink. Like many men, he never thought twice about reaching for packaged snacks or that afternoon cup of strong tea. "It's just part of my day," he'd say. But as we walked through his typical meals, I gently pointed out that processed meats, salty crackers, and caffeinated drinks can put a steady strain on the prostate and bladder. Most people don't realize that sodium, caffeine, and artificial additives don't just impact blood pressure or energy. They actually create irritation inside the urinary tract, making symptoms like frequent urination or that pesky nighttime urge much worse. The change wasn't dramatic, but it was thoughtful. Instead of giving up everything he enjoyed, George began swapping out a few processed snacks for fresh fruit or a handful of nuts. He cut back on caffeine just a little, opting for herbal tea in the afternoon. What surprised him most wasn't just a slight reduction in bathroom trips, but how much lighter and more comfortable he felt overall. It was as if his whole body thanked him for making those tiny, respectful changes. Of course, old habits die hard. The next thing we looked at was hydration. Like many men, George figured that drinking less water would mean fewer trips to the bathroom. It sounds logical, but it's a trap so many fall into. When we don't drink enough, urine becomes concentrated, irritating the bladder lining and even the prostate. This creates a vicious cycle: less water, more irritation, more urgency. So I encouraged him to keep a glass of water nearby throughout the day, sipping regularly but not forcing himself to gulp down huge amounts at once. Within a couple of weeks, he noticed his urine was lighter in color and his urges became less sudden, more manageable. It was a gentle change, but the impact on comfort was real. Movement was our next focus. George, like so many retired men, found himself sitting for hours, reading, doing crosswords, watching his favorite shows. It's so easy to fall into that pattern, especially after a lifetime of work. But the prostate, nestled right there in the pelvis, needs healthy blood flow. When we sit too long, especially in soft, deep chairs, we put pressure on the pelvic floor, reducing circulation and sometimes even leading to a feeling of heaviness or discomfort in the lower area. I encouraged George to try a simple timer on his phone or watch, reminding him to stand up and stretch every 30 minutes or so. Even a few minutes walking around the room, stretching gently, or tending to his garden made a surprising difference. Not only did he feel less stiff, but he reported less discomfort in the evenings. Stress was perhaps the most stubborn habit to address. George was a self-described, old-school type, proud, dependable, not one to talk much about feelings. But as we talked, it became clear that carrying that weight, bottling up everyday worries, was taking a quiet toll. Chronic stress causes the body to release certain hormones that can lead to inflammation, not just in obvious places like the heart or joints, but in the prostate too. When you're stressed, you may notice you tense your lower abdomen or clench your jaw without even realizing it. To help, I suggested a few simple practices. Not meditation or yoga, unless that sounded appealing, but just 5 minutes of quiet breathing in the morning, or a slow walk outdoors, focusing on the sound of birds and the feeling of the breeze. Some men like to write down their thoughts. Others prefer chatting with a friend or spouse. For George, it was taking a moment to appreciate the work he'd done in his garden, looking at his blooming tomatoes and feeling a sense of calm. Stress doesn't disappear overnight, but giving yourself permission to let go, even briefly, can make a noticeable difference. I want to pause here and remind everyone watching, these small, daily decisions can add up to big changes. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. You don't need to give up everything you enjoy. Sometimes, it's the gentle, mindful adjustments that allow your body to heal and function better, especially after 60. And the benefits go far beyond just your prostate. You'll likely find more energy, better sleep, and a greater sense of control over your health. If you're finding value in this discussion, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon for future advice. And let me know in the comments below, does this approach to health feel doable to you? If it does, type yes. If you're still not sure, type no. I really do read your responses, and your feedback guides the topics I cover to better serve you and others in our community. Back to George. After a few months of steady, patient effort, his progress was unmistakable. He was sleeping better, waking up less at night, and that nagging sense of urgency had faded. His wife noticed he was more upbeat, more present in daily life. And perhaps most rewarding for me, George started encouraging his friends at their weekly card game to pay attention to their own habits. "You know, Bob, I never realized how much those little things matter," he told me. "I thought I was stuck with these issues, but I'm not." That is exactly why I share these stories, not just to give you advice, but to show you that improvement is always possible, even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. Your prostate health, and really your whole well-being, can be protected and even improved with some gentle attention to how you live each day. It's never about being perfect, it's about being aware and giving your body the kindness it deserves. So as you reflect on your own daily routine, ask yourself, what are some habits that might be quietly working against you? Is there one thing you could adjust, just a little, to make life easier and more comfortable? Remember, it's not about giving things up, it's about making choices that allow you to get the most out of every day. George's journey is a wonderful reminder that health after 60 is not a lost cause. In fact, it's a time when you can truly make meaningful changes and enjoy life, free from the worries that used to keep you up at night. You have the wisdom, experience, and resilience. Sometimes, you just need the right nudge and a little encouragement. So take that first step, whatever it looks like for you. Your prostate and the rest of your body will thank you. And I'll be here, cheering you on every step of the way, ready to help you reclaim the comfort and confidence you deserve. As we keep exploring George's story, you might notice something familiar in his journey. Those gradual changes, the subtle victories, and even the occasional frustrations. That's the real world of men's health after 60. It's rarely about a dramatic overnight transformation. Instead, it's about discovering how even the smallest tweaks to daily habits can open the door to lasting comfort and renewed confidence. Let's talk more about one habit that's especially sneaky: prolonged sitting. In retirement, so many men find themselves spending more hours in their favorite chair, whether it's reading, working on hobbies, watching TV, or just enjoying some peace and quiet. It's one of the simple pleasures of this stage in life, but sitting for too long can quietly put more pressure on the pelvic area, leading to sluggish blood flow and irritation around the prostate. For George, his passion for birdwatching from the porch meant he'd sit for hours, enjoying the view but rarely moving. The first time I mentioned this to George, he was skeptical. How much difference could standing up every half hour really make, he asked. But we gave it a try together. I suggested he set a gentle reminder, a kitchen timer, a phone alarm, even his favorite radio show, anything that would nudge him to get up, stretch his legs, or take a slow walk through the house every 30 to 40 minutes. At first, it seemed almost too simple. But after a couple of weeks, George noticed he felt less stiff and didn't have that heavy sensation he sometimes got in his lower back and hips. These short breaks also gave him a chance to check in with how his body was feeling, something he'd overlooked for years. You might be wondering if it's really worth the effort. The truth is, healthy blood flow supports not just the prostate, but every part of the pelvic area. Little movements add up. Over a week, they're hours of improved circulation, less pressure, and less discomfort. It's a small act of kindness you can give yourself every single day, and you'll likely notice benefits that go beyond your prostate. Clearer thinking, steadier energy, and even a better mood. Now, let's revisit another habit that can catch us off guard: managing stress. I know it's easy to dismiss stress as just part of life, especially if you pride yourself on being resilient and calm. But even steady, low-level worry has a real effect on your body, especially as we get older. For George, it was subtle. He carried the worries of his family quietly, always making sure not to trouble his loved ones. But his body held onto that tension. Sometimes, when he thought about it, he realized he was clenching his abdomen or holding his breath without meaning to. When we talked about stress management, I made sure not to suggest anything that felt too foreign or forced. You don't need to start a brand new routine or change who you are. Instead, try weaving gentle moments of relaxation into your day. For George, it was taking 5 quiet minutes in the garden, listening to the wind rustle through the leaves. For others, it might be gentle breathing, talking with a friend, or listening to favorite music. These little pauses tell your body that it's safe to relax, which can lower inflammation and ease tension around the prostate. Now, I'd like to pause for a moment to encourage you. If you're finding these tips helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you're always up to date on new advice. And please, let me know in the comments below. Do you notice stress affects your body? Just type yes if you can relate, or no if you're not sure. I truly do read and reflect on your answers. It helps me know what really matters to you. Let's turn back to George's progress. Over the next few months, his story took on a new tone. With every small change, his confidence grew. He started sleeping more soundly, no more checking the clock every hour or tiptoeing around the house at night. His wife commented that he was more relaxed and seemed happier. And most importantly, George began to feel hopeful about his health again, rather than resigned to decline. What I love most about stories like George's is that they show how powerful self-care can be. You don't need expensive treatments or complicated routines, just a little attention, a little respect for your body's signals, and a willingness to try something new. Even after 60, 70, or 80, your body is capable of healing and adapting. The changes you make today can shape the quality of your tomorrows. Another habit we touched on is staying connected. It's not something you'll see in every medical book, but loneliness and isolation can quietly wear on the body, raising stress, impacting sleep, and yes, even making prostate symptoms feel worse. George found that reconnecting with old friends, whether at the local community center or just over the phone, lifted his spirits and gave him fresh motivation to stick with his healthier routines. Never underestimate the healing power of a good conversation or a shared laugh. So if you're sitting there, feeling a bit alone on your health journey, know this: you are not alone. There's a whole community of men and families out there, just like you, navigating these changes, learning, and growing together. I encourage you to reach out, whether that's leaving a comment here, joining a local group, or simply calling a friend to chat. Throughout this journey, George's results became a beacon of hope for others around him. He found his voice, sharing his story not just with me but with his friends, and even neighbors who quietly confided similar concerns. That ripple effect, one person's positive change inspiring others, is what makes this work so meaningful to me after 30 years as a men's health specialist. You see, protecting your prostate isn't just about avoiding discomfort or doctor's visits. It's about holding onto what makes life rich and enjoyable, sleeping peacefully, moving with ease, spending quality time with loved ones, and knowing you're still in the driver's seat of your health. That sense of control and dignity matters, especially in these precious years. And remember, the key isn't to chase perfection. It's about progress, making today a little better than yesterday, in whatever way feels right for you. The habits that harm our prostate tend to slip in quietly, but the habits that heal can be just as gentle and far more rewarding. I'm grateful to be a part of your journey, and I hope you'll keep tuning in, asking questions, and supporting one another. Together, we can build a community where health after 60 is something to look forward to, not fear. So as we continue, keep thinking about those small acts of self-care you might try. Stand up and stretch, drink another glass of water, or take 5 minutes just for yourself. You deserve it, and your body will thank you in ways big and small. George's journey brings us full circle to the heart of why we're having this conversation. When he first walked into my office, he believed his discomfort, disrupted sleep, and anxious midnight trips to the bathroom were simply part of aging, a reality he just had to accept. Yet, by shining a light on those everyday habits and gently adjusting his routines, George discovered a sense of relief and hope that he hadn't felt in years. His experience is a powerful reminder. The years after 60 aren't about giving up, but about living well and fully, often with just a few mindful changes. One of the most rewarding moments in this process came when George, months into his new routine, told me, "I'm not just surviving, I'm finally enjoying my days again." It wasn't a miracle. It was the result of understanding how diet, hydration, movement, and stress interact to affect prostate health, and giving himself permission to make small, steady improvements. Every time he swapped a salty snack for a piece of fruit, every time he got up and stretched instead of sitting through another hour of television, every time he paused to breathe instead of holding onto his worries, he was investing in himself. This is what I want for each of you. Whether you've experienced prostate issues or you're simply hoping to avoid them, these changes are within your reach. They don't require perfection or radical sacrifices, just awareness, kindness to your own body, and a willingness to start where you are. Let's talk about a few of the most practical changes you can make, based on what we've learned together. If your diet leans heavily on processed foods, salty snacks, or caffeinated drinks, consider trying more fresh foods, nuts, or herbal teas. Keep water close by and sip regularly. Your bladder and prostate will appreciate the gentle support. And if you notice yourself sitting for long periods, find a cue, a song, an alarm, a phone call that nudges you to get up, move, and stretch a bit. These are not big sacrifices, but they can deliver big relief over time. Remember, it's also perfectly natural to feel frustrated or discouraged, especially if you've already been living with symptoms for a while. I've had men come to me after years of discomfort, convinced they were out of options. The good news is, the body has an amazing capacity to respond, even later in life. Gentle, steady adjustments can lower irritation, improve comfort, and, perhaps most importantly, give you back a sense of agency over your health. As you move forward, don't underestimate the power of your mindset. I encourage you to celebrate each step, no matter how small. Notice the nights you sleep a little better, the days you feel more energetic, or the times you're able to enjoy a favorite activity without distraction. Share your successes and your questions, too, whether in the comments below or with a trusted friend or family member. Your experience might just be the encouragement someone else needs to take their own first step. This is also your invitation to stay connected with our community. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss a helpful tip. If today's conversation struck a chord or gave you something to think about, let me know by typing "yes" in the comments. If you're still reflecting or not sure, type "no." Your feedback truly helps me understand what matters most to you and shapes the advice I share in future videos. George's transformation wasn't just about fewer bathroom trips or better sleep. It was about the return of his optimism, his confidence, and his enjoyment of the little things. A walk in the garden, a card game with friends, a peaceful night's rest. These are the real gifts of taking charge of your health at any age. And if you're still hesitant, I hope George's story gives you permission to believe in the possibility of change for yourself, too. As we wrap up, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey. After more than 30 years in men's health, I can tell you, the most important step is often the first one. The willingness to care for yourself and listen to your body. Your prostate health is just one piece of the puzzle, but protecting it can have ripple effects across your whole life, bringing more ease, comfort, and joy to your days. So here's to you, your health, your happiness, and your freedom to live fully after 60. Remember, you are not alone on this path. I'm Dr. Robert Jansen, and I look forward to supporting you with more advice, encouragement, and stories from real men who've walked this road and found renewed hope. Take good care of yourself, and until next time, keep making those small, positive changes. Your future self will thank you.